Welcome to Ignite Goat Mentality. I am Dr. Karen Walker, the Marine Corps veteran.
And I am Charmin Jacobs, and I happen to be the Navy veteran.
Yes. And tonight we have another very special topic. We are talking about building resilience in the face of challenges. So resiliency is always like a hot topic, I feel like, especially with the military. They always talk about like military members being resilient. And I feel like, we do have a lot of challenges in the military. And then even like leaving the military. But I think people in general, we all deal with challenges. But something I've learned throughout the different uh, careers kind of I've had leaving the military uh, was asking people about kind of the great things they've experienced instead of focusing on like negative. So what would you say, Charmin, is like something like what can you do to prepare for the best? So it's like instead of
You
thinking about the worst, what can you do to prepare for the best?
just have a mindset, a positive mindset about whatever it is that you're about to endure. So, for instance, when I went to boot camp, um, I said, well, the worst that I mean, like, what could they do? They can't kill me, and I'm going to do my best. But if my best isn't good enough, then at least I know I tried my best. So that I think you have to prepare your mind because your mind controls your emotions and your emotions control your actions. So if you put yourself in a positive mindset, then it just helps. It just helps you to be able to have that elasticity to bounce back. So I remember, again, boot camp. I'm the RPOC, which is the recruit chief petty officer, and I had to like get down. I made a wrong call and I had to get down in Orlando on the heat with my hands and do push-ups. And I'm like, it's hot down here, right? I'm doing the push-ups, but I'm like, yeah, so next thing I knew, he's like, take your cover off. And he gave me his cover. And then I was still doing my push-ups. So again, I can do but so many. And when I can't do any more, then that's it. But I was at the prime back then. Like I was fit. Like so.
Yeah, you're doing
But
hundreds.
but positive mindset. Like just, like whatever the thing is that you're trying to accomplish, just go in just already in the mindset of positivity that this is going to work. Those positive affirmations. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, two examples come to my mind when I think about preparing for the best. When I worked with the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, we used to go to different job sites and air traffic control facilities, and a lot of times it'd be, they were, trying to figure out how they could get along or work better together. And we'd come in and they'd always want to tell us kind of what was terrible first, like, these people, they can't do this right, and they want to complain about kind of what's going wrong. So we'd always ask them first, like, hey, what's going well? What's working great? And that usually threw them off. So I think like when things aren't going well, if you actually sit back and think like, well, actually what is going right, it helps you really kind of focus and think about like what you can do in the moment, with the things that are going well. So that's something that came to my mind. Another thing is just like a personal example in my life was, when I felt like I was really kind of struggling, as a new parent, and wondering like, am I doing things right? And I just felt like everything was kind of going wrong. And, a friend of mine said like, you have a great, son, and, everything isn't that bad. I mean, you look at it's like having a chocolate cake and like one piece of the cake is missing. You're like forgetting how great that whole cake is, and you're just focusing on that one piece of the cake that is missing. And so a lot of times I think about that example when something in my life is hard. I'm like, gosh, a lot of other things in my life are going like really well. And I'm just narrowing in on this one piece of the cake that's missing. Like, just enjoy the chocolate cake. So I tell myself that sometimes, like, enjoy the chocolate cake because there's a lot of great things that you can focus on in life. So that's how I focus on like the best sometimes, like you said, thinking positively. So enjoy the chocolate cake, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Additionally, when we start off in a positive mindset, there are some happy hormones that are released.
Yeah.
Like the serotonin and your dopamine, those are released.
Yeah,
Um,
you need those for sure.
so, like you say, starting off with what went well instead of what, like, because people, when you start off with the negative, people are going to put the defensive because we are created to fight, flight, right? The F's
Freeze. Yeah.
and freeze, right? So that's what we, were, created to automatically respond to that. So when you automatically start off in the negative, of course, now we're going into, like how, like what, how am I concentrate on, like, what's my comeback, right? Very defensive. So you
Right.
start off in a more positive manner,
Sure.
you're gonna get sugar, get the honey from the bees.
Yeah. So then let me ask you this, like if, we can't everything isn't always sugar and honey and great, right? I mean, so what can we do to prepare for the worst? Like when it's not going to be perfect. I mean, what can you do to prepare for that?
Ooh. Well, I mean, I think it just depends on what situation. Like, if we're talking about, like, it's situational. So, um,
I mean, I think like in my mind, I always try to think of like, kind of in the military, right? We had kind of like these different plans, right? You had these different missions, right? So I think of like kind of you have that hip pocket plan, like plan B, plan C. And there's Sheryl Sandberg, she wrote a great book called Option B. And I really liked that because she kind of talked about the loss of her husband and during that she her and her husband had all these plans for their life that they were going to do, and when she lost her husband it was like she couldn't see past that, like how am I going to go on, like that was our plan, like we were going to do all of this together. And her friend kind of like told her like, look, that's not, like, option A is no longer, you need option B. So that's kind of like where the title of that comes from. Spoiler
yeah,
alert, sorry. But so just like, I think when you prepare for the worst, it's kind of like, yeah, thinking of your plan B, your plan C, kind of those other plans that you can have, to pull out. It's not like, everything is not always going to be perfect, but kind of having those other plans like ready.
yeah. There's also the thought process of, let's just talk about, like, maybe, this is like probably off, but like the law of attraction. Like, so what you put attention to is what you attract. So if you're already planning that the first, like, and I get the whole, like the story you just talked about, that's like a pivot, right? Like pivoting, right? Like not getting stuck, being able to integrate with separation, right? So, being able to, okay, uh, her husband's not there, but still being able to live. But so for me, I don't, I mean, let's just say moving to Florida. Like, if I
Yeah.
didn't get the house, yes, we had a plan B. Didn't like plan B, but we had a plan B. And that was, we'll just buy an RV and we'll save up and we'll just, have beachfront property every day or every other day.
Sure.
Were we ready for that? No. Did we really want that? No. But that was the plan B because that was it. That's all we had.
Yeah,
So,
sure. That's
so
definitely preparing, for the worst, or preparing for, not your number one plan, I'd say, right?
right, right. So, yeah, you have a plan for a backup plan for the plan.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to people that they can do to kind of increase the likelihood of the best happening in their life. Like, I think that kind of points to what you were just saying, right? That law of attraction.
Yeah, like what you put your attention to is what you attract. So like if you know how you get this car, a new car, and you're like, man, everybody got my car, right? Why? Because
That's happened to
you
me.
are putting your attention to your car. So if I would just encourage people to start studying, the law of attraction, just what you put your mind to, because it's just amazing how divine we are as human beings, and it's all about our thoughts, right? Our thoughts control everything, and so just staying positive, um, staying connected to those that are positive, because people can like absorb your energy and bring it down. And then now you're like negative Nelly or negative Nancy. And now that's
Right.
what you're attracting, right? Like, so also, the vessel that we have, just being healthy, staying healthy, because is good as well, because we have to take care of what we have.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
and I think that leads us to the next question is what can you do to cope with then what actually happens, right? I mean, we can try to prepare for, the likelihood of great things happening, but sometimes, what can you do to cope with what actually happens in life?
staying connected to those that are going to love you, lift you up, and you can learn from and you can lean on, right? Those four L's: love, lift,
Lean.
learn, and lean,
Oh yeah,
right?
love, lift, lean, and learn. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So, you just want to like stay connected to people, because we were meant to be in relationship with folks. And so if you can imagine, if you're going through a tough time in your life and you have no one to talk to, no one that is what I, like to call like the safe space, right? Where you can just vent, and they're there, they're listening to you, they're encouraging you, giving you advice.
I mean, I was gonna say, something similar to that is just being able to kind of lean on those relationships, like your friends, that you've built along the way, because, when life kind of happens, you can't plan for that always. And to be able to kind of reach out and lean on your friends is going to be important. And those structures that you've built is necessary, I think, because we can't do it on our own. And the most important part of kind of building that resiliency is being able to kind of stretch out and hold on to the structures that you have, uh, and that's in like your friends, your family, and sometimes your friends are your family in
Right,
a lot of
right, right.
cases, for sure.
So, I'd also like to add that, when we have a misstep, or a failure, right? Then learn from it, because, you try something, and, sometimes you get frustrated and you don't want to, do it again. And you just want to, like, what could you learn from it? Like, it's a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
How can I do that better? You know, instead of, I'm never doing that again, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think like we can be really hard on ourselves. So part of coping with what actually happens too is like giving yourself being compassionate to yourself too, and allowing yourself time to like take care of yourself, and giving yourself that space. So whatever that might be, like meditation or your spiritual needs, prayer, taking time, for what you need, and not just like letting it pass over, like on to the next, like really taking time to sit with that and think it over. It's important,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. So yeah, I mean, I think this has been another great time to ignite goat mentality. That's what we are all about, because we know if we don't use it,
We
we'll
lose it.
lose it. So thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much.
Great. Have a great one.